Welcome to LowKiThoPodcast, episode 3. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all of the things that you do week in and week out. I greatly appreciate it. I can't thank you guys enough. We're kind of in the thick of things, right? I said that my first couple of episodes I would be solo, kind of giving you guys my opinions and my views. And next week I'm actually gonna have my first guest on. Super excited. I think you guys are gonna like my first guest. I do. I'm also gonna have guests on for the next several episodes. Might even be a pretty consistent thing. I think you guys hear my voice, you know exactly kind of how I think, and I think it'll be fun to have some guests on and maybe do some interview style things to get you guys to hear some different perspectives. So I hope you guys enjoy that, but that's next week. One more week with me by myself. So I'm starting this week off kind of sad, to be honest, or this episode, excuse me. I'm starting this episode off kind of sad. Yesterday we lost a legend. We lost an American hero. We lost the person who truly always believed that the future is female, and that is Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. If you're not familiar with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I suggest or recommend that you do your homework, read up about her a little bit. This one hit me to my core. One of the first things I said when I rolled out of bed this morning was, "Man, I can't believe it." And Willie said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Ruth Bader Ginsburg is really gone." I'm not going to say it wasn't expected because she has been battling pancreatic cancer, but I just didn't expect it to happen yesterday, right? September 18th is when we lost her, but for so many reasons, some of them even a little selfish, I just wanted her to keep holding on, but we lost her. But she's gone on. Hopefully she's not, gone on to a better place, or, if you believe that, and she's not in pain anymore. I know her kids are going to miss her dearly. They lost their father in 2010. But I think we are going to miss her. Women in America are going to miss her. The Supreme Court is going to miss her. This country is going to miss her, to be honest. She was born and raised in Brooklyn. She got the moniker the Notorious RBG because of the Notorious B.I.G., who was also born and raised in Brooklyn. She has a movie out called The Notorious RBG, The Life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or The Story of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, something to that effect. So if you type in Google The Notorious RBG movie, it'll come up. But check it out. It's a good movie. I recommend it. She has spent her entire career fighting for equality for women in this country. She was the first female Supreme Court Justice herself. A famous tagline that you may see people associate with her name is "When there are nine." She was once asked in an interview, when will there be enough female justices on the Supreme Court? And her response was, "When there are nine." And of course, there's only 9 spots on the Supreme Court. So, just a true historian, just a true American hero. So, my love, my condolences to her family, and I just hope and pray that everything surrounding her death remains respectful. Which leads me into my next topic. Dumb Donald. Dumb Donald. This week's Dumb Donald. He wants to fill RBG's Supreme Court spot before the election. That's it. That's the entire segment. She passed yesterday. It was announced yesterday in a statement from her family as well as the Supreme Court. And this morning, Donald Trump spoke to us about, or spoke to the American people about filling her spot. The Republicans have an obligation to fill her spot without delay, was his exact statement. So that's the entire segment. Her, in the words of my grandmother, her head isn't even cold, and yet we're talking about filling her spot. That's it. I'm gonna move on. So, in moving on, I'm gonna spotlight this week's HBCU. So, if you're on YouTube, you can see my shirt here. It is a purple and gold shirt. This is my HBCU, Prairie View A&M University. I attended Prairie View A&M University from 2003 to 2006. I often say that is where that was college for me, right? When I went to Fayetteville State, which was the first HBCU I spotlighted, because I graduated from there, I spotlighted that HBCU first, but the reality is that's where I went to class and graduated, but Prairie View is most certainly where I went to college. That's where I first lived on my own and figured out my independence and figured out who I was, and it's where I made lifelong friends. Prairie View is my HBCU. I love Fayetteville State. I adore Fayetteville State. I got my degree from Fayetteville State, but Prairie View has and always will be my HBCU. So look it up, pvamu.edu. If you're interested in maybe attending some classes or just want to see what the school is all about. Maybe you got some kids that might be looking at going to school, or some nieces and nephews or something to that effect. At any rate, that's this week's HBCU Spotlight, Prairie View A&M University in Prairie View, Texas. All right, PV. If you went to Prairie View, it'll make sense. Anyways, so moving on, this week's Song of the Week. I'm going to tell you guys, of course, because I can't play it, but it's actually a song that I wasn't super familiar with, but it ended up just playing when I was, I had just a random playlist going on Tidal, and the song ended up playing, and it's called Ring by T.I. and Young Thug. It's a good song. I enjoy it. It's not like, it's a good song. Just check it out when you can. But it's called Ring, R-I-N-G, by T.I. and Young Thug. So check that out when you get a chance. So moving on to this week's Ask Kiki. Yay! My producer's probably going to throw a little yay in there anyways, but I just wanted to do my own. Anyhow, speaking of my producer, don't forget the MeetUp Media Group on Instagram, Alicia Morris. If you're interested in any type of media content or editing or any of that fancy stuff that I don't know how to do. So don't forget to hit her up. If you hit up the YouTube page, you'll see her information, and it's also listed in the description on all of the podcast networks. Also this week, exciting news, as if they need any more money, Jeff Bezos has entered the podcast world. So LowKiTho is also streaming on Amazon Podcast. So I don't know if you guys are into it yet or have downloaded it to your phones or other devices, but Jeff Bezos is in the podcast world through Amazon. So download it, look for LowKiTho, download, follow, stream, so on and so forth. All right, now moving on to Ask Kiki. And by the way, this week's drink is, in my LBJ mug made by Scorpio Queen Designs, is beer. Yes, this week's drink is beer. You won't see me drinking a lot of that because beer makes you belch. Anyways, finally, Ask Kiki. So I got a couple inboxed questions for this week. And I'm not going to answer all of them. I'm going to continue to kind of space them out. throughout the next several episodes. But I have 2 inbox questions that I'm going to answer. And then also remember, I'll be answering just a get to know me question every week. So this week's get to know me question is, what's something you really resent paying for? This is a really good question. And I would say the thing that I resent paying for the most is probably, and it's the cheapest, like one of the cheapest bills I have, but I just feel like I shouldn't have to pay for it, is the water bill. Hate paying the water bill. Would rather it not be there because I don't feel like I should have to pay for water that does not belong to a person, that belongs to God. So why do I have to pay for it? So yeah, that's something I really resent paying for. I'm also a water snob, so I don't drink water out the faucet, and I end up paying for bottled water. So, and I'm sorry because I know that that's not good for, the environment. I'm sorry, but I just can't drink water out the faucet. It tastes gross. Anyways, next question, inbox question, or first inbox question. What do you miss most about Alabama besides family? So I would say the thing that I miss most about Alabama besides my family and friends is, and my number one answer would have been white barbecue sauce, but my mom mailed me some. Shout out to my mother. And if you don't know what white barbecue sauce is, look it up. Look up Bob Gibson's white barbecue sauce. They are not paying me, but it's the best. I would say the cost of living. It's a little pricey out here in Texas. We have a smaller home than what we had in Alabama, and we pay significantly more. So I would say the cost of living is what I miss most about Alabama. Yeah, definitely. Second inbox question. How do your parents treat your spouse and vice versa? Really good question. So, I would just speak to today. Today, I have a good relationship with my in-laws, and my wife has a good relationship with her in-laws. It has not always been the case, but thank goodness for growth and redemption and mending relationships. That is always a good thing. So today, it's great. And I'm happy about it on all fronts. But we'll talk more about that at a later time, like relationships and in-laws and so on and so forth. I think that'll actually be a great topic. So, okay, main topic is here. So this week's topic is around your belief system. So we know that it is a rough time. 2020 in and of itself is just, to put it kindly, it has been a hell of a year. We've lost some amazing celebrities. We've lost some amazing Americans. We have lost our dignity and soul as a country. And we've pretty much lost everything, including our mind and our cell phones. Like, we've lost everything. So it feels that way. So in times like this, most people tend to fall back or lean on some type of belief system foundationally that they have. And I'm no different, and I think most people feel this way. I can't say everyone. I know that we have people out there that don't believe in any type of belief system, but I can only speak for myself. So for me, I was raised a Christian Baptist, Southern Baptist Christian kid. My dad's a preacher, and I, from about the age of 12 or 13, was always in the church. I wasn't really in the church before that. My parents were really young when they had me, and traveled a lot, and were still growing in their own relationships within themselves with their higher power. And so I wasn't always in the church. I wasn't one of those kids that was like literally always in the church my whole life. But from about the age of 12 on, I was. So I I don't consider myself a Southern Baptist Christian kid anymore. Um, I believe that I believe in God wholeheartedly. I believe that there is a God. Um, I believe that there is a avenue to God. So you have, Jesus or the Holy Spirit, whatever your own personal beliefs are. I believe that there is an avenue to God. Um, I don't always believe everything that the Bible says. Um, and this is where it gets tricky, being a Southern Baptist kid, and being raised in that type of environment and having your dad be a Baptist Christian preacher. And most of my family, especially my dad's generation, are super religious and into the church. But I find that I have peace with the relationship that I have with God, and I don't try to force it on anyone else, and I don't expect anyone else's religious beliefs to be forced on me. So, in saying that, I want to say that for me, in this time of turmoil in our country, I find my comfortability in meditating, praying, and talking to God. I know that a lot of people, especially Christians, and I have some true Christian people in my life. I don't knock Christianity in any way, shape, or form. I think it's a beautiful religion for those who operate in it effectively and appropriately. But I think far too often religion is used as a sword, instead of as a means of bringing people to you. It's a means of pushing people away. So I opt not to subscribe to Christianity as a religion, and for me and my family. So, anyways, I say all that to say, when it comes to for me and how how I've been finding my peace lately, is just meditating, praying, reading, spending time with God, and trying to figure out what it is exactly that all of the things that are going on in the world, what do they mean? How do we get here, and how do we get through this and past this? And so if you're struggling to figure out where you belong in this world and what's going on around you, I recommend starting with some type of meditation. And so for me, meditation is, when I meditate, I'm in complete silence. Nothing else going on around me. I have no devices connected to me in any way. Jackson is usually up, away from me somewhere in his crate, or I'm in a different room with the door closed, whatever that looks like. And I sit in complete silence. And I pretty much try to get to a point where I can hear my own heartbeat. Once I can hear my own heartbeat, I know that I have escaped the world. Because it's very difficult to hear your own heartbeat. So once I get to a place, so that's a lot of deep breathing. It's literally not moving, not paying attention to anything that may happen, right? The mailman might ride by or something like that. I just try to shut off the world. So once I get to a place where I can hear my own heartbeat, then I know that I'm in a meditative state, right? And I stay there for a while, just thinking, just breathing, some type of deep breath pattern. So it might be a consistent deep breath in, deep breath out, hold for 6 seconds, let out for 6 seconds, whatever that looks like. So if that's a method that you can use, right, and that helps you to just shut off your brain, which is very hard to do. It's super hard to shut off your brain. But that's something that I do. So if you don't know how to ground yourself or center yourself, that's a good place to start. I also pray. So praying can look like something different for each person. When I pray and talk to God, I kind of talk just like how I'm talking now. I don't have a formality of dear God, I'm coming to you as humbly as I know how. I don't talk to God like that. That wouldn't be me. That wouldn't be genuine, and God would know that, right? So, I talk to God kind of just how I'm talking to this camera right now. And then I typically afterwards will sit still and listen, and try to hear from God, right? And sometimes I hear from God, and sometimes I hear from God long after I've had the conversation in some type of sign or some type of action that I have taken or that I've seen, and it's like, okay, maybe this is the answer that I've been searching for. Um, so for me, those are the things that I do to stay grounded, to stay centered in the midst of all this chaos. Um, if you are in a space where you're trying to figure out what religion or what connection to God looks like for you, I would first of all start off by figuring out what do you want to be to God, and what do you want to get from God. Um, he doesn't owe you anything, but I think that's just a good place to start to try to figure out what that relationship is going to look like. In all relationships, you make deposits and you make withdrawals, and so you got to figure out what you can give to God and what you want to receive from God. Um, and also, again, like I said, just getting to that state where you can hear your own heartbeat. Be quiet, be still, take deep breaths, so on and so forth, until you can get to that space. And feel free to inbox me, and I will kind of give you more in depth of what that looks like for me on a personal level. And I also do guided meditations. If you've never done a guided meditation, it's really good when you're trying to super Christians, please don't beat me up when I say this, but when you're trying to manifest something. And so what I mean by that is when I am trying to, I guess, what most people would probably call speak something into existence, I use guided meditations. And so if you go on YouTube, you can literally YouTube guided meditations and put anything in there. And it will bring up different guided meditations. Some of them are very lengthy, some of them are short, and you can listen to them. Sometimes they'll ask you to repeat things. And even in those guided meditations, I always make sure that I'm in a quiet space. I go to typically either in my office or we have another bedroom. I'll go into that room, sit on the floor, very quiet, very still. I typically download the guided meditation so that I can put my phone in airplane mode, listen to the guided meditation, follow the guided meditation, and then again, just kind of sit silently afterwards to kind of let those things sink in. So this is my connection to being grounded this is the way that I connect to God and try to be grounded and, have a sense of self in the midst of all this chaos. I can't tell you how to do it. I can only tell you how I do it. And so I know that there are, many others who may do things differently, and that's perfectly fine. I respect that. But I'm not personally someone who goes to the Bible for everything as it stands right now in my life. There was a time where I felt that way. I feel differently now. So I hope and pray that this episode of Low Key Though helps you get to a place of being grounded and feeling like you have a little bit of control in the midst of this chaos, and allows you to kind of grow in a spiritual sense in this time. So I was talking to someone recently, a person that I consider a true Christian, a devout Christian, and she said that relationship is more important than religion. And I think that's super important, and people can interpret that how they want. Not interpretate, because that's not a word. People can interpret that how they want, But for me, it just made me feel like keep building on your relationship with God, keep growing in that relationship with God, and that's what's important. Um, the religious aspects of it, if I ever am in that place again in my life, so be it. That may be my journey, but that's not where I am right now. It's not where I am today. Um, but yeah, so that's it. I hope this helps you guys. Next week, super excited. I get to have my first guest, which I think is going to be great. I hope you guys are looking forward to it as much as I am. And then the week after that, I get to have two very special guests. Two of my favorite people walking earth are going to also be a part of this, of that episode. So that's it, man. Here we are. Episode 3 finished. And it's a good thing, right? This is continuing to grow. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit all the buttons everywhere that there are buttons. Hit those buttons. Let me know your feedback, and don't forget, submit your questions for Ask Kiki if you have any. And then also feel free anytime to submit topics that you would like me to talk about, or maybe if you want to be a guest on Low Key Though, and there's something that you're really passionate about, or something that you really would like to talk about and get my point of view on. I think that would be super dope to have some of the page, the fans of the page, to be a part of the episodes. I think that would be super fun and super cool. So reach out anytime you want. As always, take care of your family, take care of yourself, love on your family, but most importantly, love on yourself. Peace.